take a deep breath. We have made it. The off season is no more. It's in the rearview mirror. Week 1 is here. It kicks off tonight. It is college football tailgate. I'm Dan Watkins. He's John McKechnie. John, Thursday, August 28th, it has finally arrived. Week 1 is here. I mean, man, I am so pumped and so ready to go for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, this has been our North Star all summer long. We've been really looking forward to it. I feel like the college football gods really kind of blessed us with really a pretty awesome week 1. I felt like last year's week 1, I mean, you can obviously disagree with the Notre Dame A&M game, you know, going into that night was pretty epic and everything like that. But I felt like last year left a little bit of meat on the bone as far as how good week 1 could be relative to recent years. But this year, just haymakers left and right. All day Saturday. I think we got a couple really interesting ones on Friday night, easing in with kind of some fun stuff here on Thursday too. So, and then we just keep rocking all weekend long. I love week 1. I think that they did a great job with this, and I think we just have so much to look forward to. I mean, any weekend that you get 1 versus 2, you're going to be in pretty good shape here, but the rest of the weekend has so much to offer. I just can't wait.
Oh, absolutely. I'm like knocking things over on my desk right now. I'm so excited. We got 3 top 10 matchups this week. We got 5 straight days of football, starting with Thursday night all the way through Monday. You don't even mention Bill Belichick Monday night as the cherry on top to week 1. Yeah, last year's week 1, personally, as an Irish fan, it was great. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I had a nice day to ease into that game on Saturday night, but I think it was like something where like people were pointing out, like, wait for 2025's week 1. That's how you start the season, because like we already have that look at the schedule from a year from now. But this is awesome. Props to the schedule makers. They knocked it out of the park with this one this week. So, I mean, I think we might as well start here. Like, it's almost like a Christmas morning kind of feeling. Like, what present are you looking forward to opening the most? What are you looking forward to the most this week for week 1?
For week 1 specifically, I think that the marquee matchups, how they shake out, I think in particular, these first-year starters with massive expectations and some of them really having big, tough games to get things started. You know, Arch versus Sayin, I think it is, a massive storyline coming into this Ohio State-Texas game. I'm not really reinventing the wheel there, but obviously very excited for that. I think Ty Simpson also, obviously, he's going to be, kind of having this huge moment for him. Can he kind of be the guy that takes Alabama back to prominence? I know we were talking about that a bit on our preview show earlier this week, just kind of looking out into the season. I do like the idea of him potentially as a Heisman candidate. And, on the flip side of that game, Tommy Castellanos taking over at Florida State. Can he be the guy that kind of, for lack of a better term, stems the tide at Florida State, where, things basically 2 out of the last 3 years have been abysmal in Tallahassee, and it makes that 2023 season look like a fluke. This is a situation where Norvell and co could be kind of floundering if they do end up getting pasted, which I think is kind of the general expectation of everybody. We'll get to that when we preview that game a little bit more, but all told, first-year quarterbacks with big expectations this weekend, I think it is really something I'm looking forward to. Utah also, I was talking a bit about Devin Dampier. I need to see him start hot because I've been gassing up him and Utah a lot. They need to kind of get UCLA and over the barrel in this one. Otherwise, I'm going to feel a little bit worried because I do feel like I stepped out onto the plank for that particular take. So I need to see that one kind of get rocking here.
Yeah, we get that nice little Pac-12 like flashback when we get Utah and UCLA. I got some thoughts on that game too that we'll get to in a little bit. We will be breaking down the 3 top 10 matchups plus that Alabama-Florida State game in depth, so stay tuned for that. But for me, John, what I'm looking forward to this weekend, it's personal here. I mean, because look, I'm a reporter and sports anchor in Boston. I grew up a Patriots fan. For me, it's all about Monday night, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't wait for Saturday. It's going to be great. But what I'm most looking forward to, does Bill Belichick still got it? What is this going to look like in North Carolina on Monday night? When we did our ACC preview show, I said UNC is the most fascinating team in the country this season. I'm sticking by that right now. So it's really going to be, what does Bill look like? What does his team look like Monday night, where's the girlfriend? How many TV shots of her do we get on Monday, too? That's going to be something to see. He just named Gio Lopez the starter, a little bit of a dual threat guy, too. I'm curious what kind of offense they're going to run. I do think that at some point this season, we're going to see UNC run some sort of like Fakakta double wing Navy style offense. You know, Belichick is just like itching and cannot wait to do something like that. I wonder if they do it Monday night against TCU. I can't wait. I'm totally fascinated by that. Second, for me, it's, those questions about the Notre Dame quarterback that we've had and that we talked about a couple days ago with CJ Carr. Did Marcus Freeman pick the right guy for week one? What is that going to look like? Do those concerns go away or do they get amplified depending on his performance Sunday night? And then on the flip side, too, without getting too much into breaking this game down, because we're going to do that, what does Carson Beck look like off that injury? I can't wait to see that. And what that marriage with him and Shannon Dawson looks like down there in Coral Gables, that fascinates me. And then lastly, the Friday night one, Georgia Tech, a lot of hype. I'm buzzing with the Jackets this year. Don't let me down and drop a stinker against Colorado out in Boulder on Friday night. You cannot lose to Dion when you're going in there favored on Friday night. So that too also really has my attention for this week.
I think, adding some coal to that fire on the other side, Dion's tenure at Colorado has been characterized by having Travis Hunter and obviously Shadur and elite offenses and everything like that, just throwing it all over the yard. He made the big decision to go with Caden Salter. I think that was the right move, but I just want to see, does Dion kind of still have the fire here now that like his boys, literally and figuratively, are no longer with the program? Like, is Salter really going to be the guy that meshes with this offense? And can Colorado kind of reignite what they were able to do a year ago? I know it'll look different, especially with Salter back there, more of a dual threat type of guy. But man, I'm interested in this Colorado season. I think we've seen two very different seasons there in Boulder under Dion, and I can't pick between the two which one this year is going to look like.
Yeah, I think we're going to go probably in a third direction, whatever that might be. Ooh. But I don't want to take us off on a total side tangent here, but I was thinking of this the other day, and we're not going to do really much, if at all, any NFL on this show as we do this podcast. But at some point this season, I feel like the Dion to Jacksonville rumors are going to like explode. If Jacksonville gets off to a cold start, Hunter's already there. Somehow they'll figure a way to get Shadur down there too, and then Dion's going to come as well. Like, I mean, they had Urban Meyer there a couple of years ago. That would be totally Jacksonville to do that. So I don't know. I've just like been kicking that around in my head as I like just walk around the neighborhood, be like, Dion to Jacksonville. I feel like that sounds like a First Take segment to me.
Shad Khan is just like
you can do it.
Mustache. Yeah. one week, you just have to give me the heads up, and I'll get the requisite curls going for that, and we can do a whole Shad Khan segment. Absolutely.
I love that. We might be able to get you like a spot on SNL. I saw that they just fired a bunch of people, so they're probably hiring. That would be excellent. All right. Anyways, let's bring it back. Talk more college football. Before we get into our game breakdowns, like I mentioned, we're going to do, of course, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, Florida State, Clemson, LSU, Notre Dame, Miami. We'll give out some best bets at the end of the show here. Why don't we try something here, and let's see how this goes. Let's predict the headlines for Sunday, Monday morning, post week one. I mean, week one's a little weird because these could be like Tuesday headlines too, if you want to take it that direction. But what are we going to be talking about at the start of next week when week one is settled?
Okay, I got three for you. I got the first one. I think it's an AP style. Manning saying struggle as Texas beats OSU in defensive battle. That's how I see this one breaking out. I think it's not totally out of pocket. I think a lot of people believe that the defenses could really kind of characterize and dictate everything in this game. I'm buying that. I think that these defenses are both totally elite. I think that Manning having to go on the road in this one makes it a little bit tougher to see his ceiling outcome. Although if he does hit it, then we're really off to the races on the Manning hype. But for me, I think this ends up being a defensive struggle. My next headline for next week: late field goal propels Clemson to win over LSU. So I have trouble. We'll break it down. Have trouble picking Clemson at the current number, covering more than a field goal. I think this one goes down right to the wire, and it ends with Brian Kelly looking on and just kind of putting his head down as the ball goes through the uprights for Clemson, and Clemson escapes 1-0. And then lastly, Kentucky gets upset at home by Toledo. That's my last one. It may not be the front page headline or anything like that, but I think one of these SEC schools, maybe towards the bottom rung, has a bit of a rough weekend or has a bit of a scare. I don't think it's a scare in Kentucky's case. I think it's an outright panic. I think that Toledo absolutely could beat them straight up. Kentucky only favored by 9.5 in that game at home against Toledo. Not a great sign.
Oh, that's interesting. So I like how you kind of went like New York Timesy with your headlines, like very official and stuff like that. I'm going tabloids. I'm going New York Post, back page. Here we go. All right, I got 3 for you as well. I'm going right to that Florida State-Alabama game, and I got 2, John, so I'll let you pick which headline's better, either Tide Roll or Joke Campbell Stadium.
Joe Campbell, all absolutely.
Right. So I go with that because they're unveiling the renovations for the first time at Doak Campbell this weekend as Alabama runs in there. I think the Tide are going to absolutely steamroll Florida State. I think that Ryan Grubb, Kalen DeBoer, Ty Simpson, those guys are going to want to flex their muscles and just show the world that Alabama football is here and something to not to trifle with going forward this season. And I just got a bad feeling about Florida State still, but we'll get into that game more as we go on. Next up, Utah, get me 2. I think the Utes win by 2 scores on Saturday night against UCLA. Kyle Whittingham going to show everybody why he came back one more year, why he couldn't go out the way they did a year ago. I think I'm right out there with you on that plank on the Dampier stuff, especially for this weekend. I think the Utah defense is significantly better than UCLA's. I think they'll frustrate Nico and give me Utah to get that big road win. And then finally, the real Death Valley. Clemson pulls out the win, beats LSU. We'll get into our reasoning there a little more when we break that game down. But yeah, I think that LSU is going to have a tough time because I think that environment Saturday night is going to be off the charts for a couple of different reasons that we'll get into here in a few minutes. So let's see how right we are when week 1 is fully in the books there. But I think it's time to really start diving into these games and let's start and let's talk about Texas.
One second here.
Got one more?
On the Utah give me 2 front, a couple quick questions.
Okay.
One save and one question. First off, excellent headline because also that is set in LA. So, I mean, that's just.
There you go. Yeah. I didn't even put that in. Yeah.
And what was Get Me To referring to? What was Gary Busey getting 2 of?
It was the subs, right?
That is correct. Meatball subs, I believe.
Meatball subs, yep.
Extra Pacific on that. But yeah, love me some Point Break.
Excellent. All right. Very good. Okay. Now, without further ado, let's start talking about some games. Let's start breaking down some games here. I mean, we have a historic matchup in Columbus, Ohio on Saturday afternoon. It's big noon kickoff. Number 1 Texas heads up to the shoe to take on number 2 Ohio State, number 2 in the coaches poll, number 2 in the odds market, whatever you want to call it. I don't care about the AP poll at this point in time. This is number 1 versus number 2. First time ever in history we have that on week 1 Saturday. I mean, this thing is fascinating, John. The line, I believe, at last check, we are down to Ohio State minus 1.5 after it opened up at OSU minus 3. The total has ticked down a little bit to 47.5 from that opening number at 50.5. I mean, where do you want to start with this one? There are so many different angles. We got the rematch from the semifinal a year ago, even though these two teams are totally different. We got Ryan Day and his pretty much brand new coaching staff, it feels like, with Hartline coming back to BOC. And then Matt Patricia is the defensive coordinator against Sark, Arch Manning, Julian Sand. Where do you want to steer this thing to start?
I want to start with the quarterbacks. Who blinks first? Where is there a turnover early in this game, and who's it committed by?
I mean, I got to say it's going to be Sand. So I have some concerns with Ohio State's offensive line here. I think they brought in a kid from Rice. That's going to be their starting left tackle, and he's going to be tasked with trying to slow down Colin Simmons all afternoon. I think Simmons gets to Sand, and Ohio State's going to be the one to commit the first turnover. Not saying that it's going to be backbreaking, but I do think that Texas and that defense is going to be able to force a turnover before
the other way around. Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. There are some astute observations, especially when Sayan was officially announced and his pictures out everywhere. A lot of people are saying he looks a little bit too much like Napoleon, which I agreed with, and
Okay.
so
I haven't seen that.
something to at least keep in the back of the noggin for this weekend. But I think beyond that. I just think that it comes down to which defense is able to dominate, and I think, like you said, I give that lean to Texas. Yeah, I mean, it's a who's who. I mean, both of these defenses are I would argue, the two best in the country. I mean, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs on the Ohio State side, Simmons, and a countless number of other guys. I'm kind of blanking on at the second on the Texas side. I think defense travels here, so I do think that I've seen where I think Ben Fox, who's over at Yahoo, noted that according to one of the bookmakers, a lot of money is coming in on Texas that I think explains the line movement to Ohio State
Sure.
now just on one and a hook. He said it wasn't sharp money, which always kind of concerns me a little bit when there's a line movement like that. I feel like we're getting baited a little bit, especially when I'm on the side and in the direction that things are moving, because I've been of the opinion that Texas gets this done. And now we got the total. Everyone and their brother loved the under at 50.5. Now it's 47.5. That's a different conversation. I do want to hear your thought on how that how that ends up settling once the clock hits zero on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I would have leaned under as well. I mean, that has trickled down a little bit here, but I really do think that these two teams are going to try to run the football on Saturday. So I mentioned the Ohio State offensive line, and there may be some question marks at tackle. I don't have the questions at the interior positions. Those guys all pretty much come back from a year ago, that national championship team, where Texas does have some inexperience at defensive tackle. So I'm wondering if that's how Brian Hartline, Ryan Day, and those guys are going to try to attack that defense and just keep running the ball up the middle. Will be interesting there with James Peoples to see what kind of day he has and what kind of stat line he has. And then on the other side, just one returning starter for Texas's offensive line, where Ohio State brings back nobody starting wise on the defensive line. So who's more ready to go on Saturday? That's going to be a big question here. And then you also mentioned, right, the quarterback dynamic. I mean, two totally different dynamics, I feel like, here, right? For Arch, it's okay. It's like, okay, show us. You're like one of the most hyped quarterbacks that we've had in a long time here going into this season. So prove it. Where Julian Sayan's just like, don't screw this up. Like, we know you were a big-time prospect, big-time recruit, but don't screw this up on Saturday. You're at home. And so, John, as I'm looking at this game and I've been staring at this, I mean, my initial feeling, at the start of if you asked me 2 months ago, I would have just said Texas. And then I've kind of wavered on that and gone back and forth. And I'm like, oh, okay, Ohio State at home, they're incredible. But at the end of the day, I think the mismatch between Steve Sarkisian as the offensive play caller and Matt Patricia getting that defense ready to go, I lean Sark there. I take Texas to win this game in a close one. I am not putting a single penny on this game. I just want to watch it. But I like Texas to pull off the win.
I'm with you there, and I like as far as the total is concerned that we can get a 24-21 final
Yep.
and be on the under. I think we see a final score that settle in somewhere around there. I lean Texas as well. They just can't do the stuff down near the goal line like the Ewers play last year. Although Jack Sawyer no longer walking
right.
through that door, but ultimately, I'm saying hook 'em this week. But general question, we're big pressure guys. I've noticed it. Who does have more pressure in this game? Because in this particular climate, you can lose the first game and it's not that big of a deal ultimately. I mean, you're going to have to wear it. There's nothing worse as a fan than losing week one and just kind of having to sit and stew in it, especially when everyone saw it, like the way that we're going to see with this game. The ratings are going to be bananas. So in your mind, who has more pressure, with Ohio State being at home versus Texas officially ushering in the Arch Manning era in a huge environment?
I think it's what you just said there. It's Texas for that reason. And all the Arch hype that we've had over the summer. We've talked about how this should be the best defense in the country. They got some great skill players. I mean, Texas is loaded. This is supposed to be the start of this new age golden era of Texas football. So I do think Texas does have some more pressure there on them. But either way, the headlines after this game are probably going to be toxic on either side, one way or another. It's either how could you be that hyped and then go in and lay an egg, or some bad decision that leads to a close loss. And then Ohio State, right? It's like you're the defending champs and you just lost at home, is saying really the guy. Did you make the right decision? All that kind of stuff. Should you have fought harder to get Knowles back and maybe try to get Chip Kelly to stay another year? So either way, there's going to be some wild headlines, I think, after this one.
It is going to be crazy. It's like kind of it's always been on the radar of just how much this is the central focus of week one, but the magnitude of it is really kind of sinking in. And then I don't know how many Buckeye fans you interact with on Twitter or in your circle. I find that they are highly represented on Twitter and in my little groups and everything. I love them as people, but as fans, they very much bother me. They're getting big chests out there as we get closer to the game. They've been talking very diplomatically all summer, but Buckeye Nation, I feel like for the most part, I'm seeing a lot of, yeah, I snuck some Ohio State -6.5 tickets out there. I'm doing I'm doing a little alt line action here on my Buckeyes. So,
I mean, I don't hate that, because if Ohio State wins, I feel like they would be. If Ohio State is to win this game, I do see them like pulling away, if that makes sense. Where I feel like if it gets down to crunch time here and there's like someone needs that last second drive, I would lean Texas. Where more likely, if the path I think for Ohio State to win this game would be they win this one with a little more comfort and wiggle room there.
Okay, fair. So like if this ends up being not comfortable necessarily, but a larger margin, it's probably going to be the Ohio State side with them being at home. And we forgot to say it entirely. Just toss it. One last thing. I'm excited to watch Jeremiah Smith play football again. I just can't wait for that.
How could you not? And I'll just tie a bow with a couple of gambling notes for you hooligans out there. Texas 5-1 against the spread in the last 6 openers, 6-0 straight up. But since 2006, 1-6 against the spread against Big Ten opponents for the Longhorns. Interesting trend there. And then on the other side, Ohio State 0-3-1 ATS in their last 4 openers. They are 4-0 straight up, and they are just 2-3 against the SEC under Ryan Day. Both those wins, though, did come last year in the college football playoff on their way to winning the national title. All right, speaking of SEC, we got to talk about Alabama at Florida State. Number 8, the Crimson Tide head in to take on the Noles. As we were talking about, those renovations at Doak Campbell will be on full display Saturday afternoon. I believe this is a 3:30 kick. John, we've been talking about this one for since we started this show. I think we're both on the same page here that we're expecting Alabama to kind of go in there and flex their muscles. For me, I love that pairing back again of Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb running that offense. I don't really trust Florida State's defense to be able to stop them. I think Alabama's going to flex their muscle here, and I know they got some concerns and questions at running back with health and stuff like that, but I think Ty Simpson's going to be able to have a field day on Saturday. Curious how you feel heading into this one.
Objectively, I feel the same way. I think that it's too much to ask this Florida State team to flush out last year, reload on the fly, and be competitive even at home against a team like Alabama that I think is really hungry coming into this year, having just missed out on the college football playoff. Now having a quarterback that fits the system that the head coach wants to run a little bit more, that makes that offense even more dangerous, even if it looks a bit more different than it did a year ago. Ryan Williams entering year 2, excited to see him. I think he can finally vote at this point. I'm sorry, just you got to make a mandatory. Ryan Williams was 17 last year as a freshman joke. But we do have some interesting notes here from our friends over at VSiN. They did note that the Seminoles won and covered their only time playing as a home dog of 7.5 or more. And last year, Alabama notably 2-3, both straight up and against the spread as road favorites. So that they need to fix those road woes, absolutely.
Definitely.
In Tuscaloosa to really get this thing going and go back from being like really good to being Alabama level good once again, where they can just go into anyone's house and totally wreck shop. I think having watched Alabama so much over the years, I think a common thing for them when they do win, is, especially against kind of like bigger underdogs, if an underdog is hanging with them, but they commit sort of that backbreaker, they throw a pick six, they give up a blocked punt, or some sort of big splash play on special teams. That usually is when Alabama just kind of starts to lean on you fully. They start to pull away. That's certainly something that can happen. That's something that Florida State, I think, really needs to avoid. A big part of that, of course, ties in with Tommy Castellanos. You saw him at BC. Throws too many picks. That needs to be cleaned up. That needs to be cleaned up on Saturday. He cannot afford to turn the ball over. Even if he throws one pick, I think that might be too many for Florida State to overcome. So ultimately, the chips are stacked against Florida State here. I know this line opened at 11.5 and quickly got to like 14 or so, 13.5 at some places. I still am a little bit like, just this is gambling brain, skeptic stuff. Why hasn't it budged that much? Like, I gotta imagine, I don't have access to the monetary splits here at sportsbooks, but I gotta imagine that like 75% of the money is coming in on Alabama at this point.
I would assume so.
Right? So when we get a situation like that, and this is the big game I feel like that I could walk away from looking the dumbest this weekend, but I'm going to hold my nose and say that Florida State just hangs in there just enough. The back door could be open. They cover the 14.
So I like with big spreads like this, I try to like talk myself into like, okay, how can that underdog make this a game? How could they potentially pull off the upset? And I think the only way they can is that Castellanos runs for like a buck 50 in this one, and he's going crazy because we have seen these running quarterbacks give Alabama, even in the Saban era, fits over the years. But I don't know, John. I look at these on paper. This Alabama defense, I think, is loaded. I think they're going to be tremendous this season. And then I see Florida State's got 4 new guys on the offensive line. Are they going to be able to handle that pressure? Castellanos, stoked the fire, added basically just kicked open a can of gasoline and dumped it on the fire with his comments back in June about Saban's not there anymore to save them, that kind of thing. So I think Alabama is going to be ready to go. A couple other gambling notes here for you guys. Alabama has won 23 straight week 1 games. They are 18-5 against the spread in those matchups as well. In their last 10 games against the ACC, they are 8-2 straight up, 6-4 ATS. So there's a couple other trends for you. For me, John, I've been saying it since we started this show that I couldn't wait to bet this game. I have bet this game. Give me Alabama minus 13.5 here. I think the Tide roll on Saturday afternoon.
Good number, and you made it sound good there.
Fair enough. Yeah, so some 14s are starting to pop up there as well. So if you can still get under 2 touchdowns there and get that 13.5 and you want that, go scoop that up. All right, so before we get to our next game, guys, if you could do us a favor, if you like the show, just, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, leave a 5-star review. It would help us out a ton. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. We talk college football. We have a lot of fun doing so. We are on TikTok at CFB Tailgate. That's starting to blow up a little bit. We are on Twitter at CFB Tailgate 25, YouTube at College Football Tailgate as well. Find us on Spotify and Apple. But if you could just do us a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and tell a friend. Because we're trying to help the people out here too, and also build our bankrolls in the process where we give out these picks, as these are plays that we are on as well. So, anyways, moving on. Saturday night in Death Valley, Clemson. That is the Battle of Death Valley. I think if LSU is to go in there and get the win, Clemson might have to rename this. You can't use that nickname anymore. I think that is at stake in this game for a fact. But something on Clemson's side, John, that I noticed this week, Chappell Fowler, who is a Clemson beat guy on Twitter, points out that Memorial Stadium is selling alcohol for the first time Saturday night. Clemson is going to be buzzing. Dabo was asked about this, selling alcohol to fans for the first time on Saturday and how that's going to add to this atmosphere. Dabo smiled and replied, quote, "It may be the first time they're selling it, but it's not the first time it'll be in there. I can tell you that." Do you think this is going to amplify Death Valley and Clemson on Saturday night?
I think it could, in the sense that, in the pre-selling booze at the stadium era, I think a lot of the students in particular would feel like they have to do 4 quarters worth of drinking before they even get into the stadium, or sneak in some airplane bottles. I know that move as well. And then you get a little sleepy, a little out of it as you get to the fourth quarter. This allows you to sustain a nice little beer buzz through 4 quarters. I feel like that could make it a little bit more raucous, but I don't think it overly changes the dynamic. I think it was going to be nuts in there regardless. But yeah, my general statement on booze at the college football games is I think it's honestly good crowd control, because you can see some people really struggling in the stands if they don't have access, and then therefore are just really going ham on the punch but before they enter the stadium, I will say.
Oh, it's going to be it's going to be I'm sure you have down there in SEC country, that's for sure. It's going to be a rowdy scene, I think, no matter what. I mean, it's week 1. You got a top 10 matchup back on campus. Like, this is going to be awesome. Cannot wait for this one on Saturday night. But let's actually dive into this game here a little bit. Clemson favored by 3.5 or 4 at home now. I want to say this one opened up at 3, so it has moved a little bit more in Clemson's favor. The total sitting at 57.5, 56.5. That's ticked up a smidge since this line opened as well. Important thing, I mean, this is going to be the broadcast note and what you're going to hear over and over in this one, and we've said it on this show. LSU has lost 5 straight week 1 games. That includes 3 under Brian Kelly. Not only have they not won those games, if you're a bettor, they have not covered in those games either, as we've just seen some nightmarish play, I want to say, in week 1 from Brian Kelly and his team, whether it's FSU and Jordan Travis going crazy a couple years ago, that meltdown kind of against USC last year. Those were all neutral site games too, by the way. This one on the road in a very tough environment. You got a quarterback that's a little turnover happy. I mean, this could get out of hand for LSU. But how do you break this one down? What are you looking at? Because for me, it's what kind of game is Cade Klubnik going to have Saturday night? Is he going to run like crazy on top of being able to throw the ball? LSU, we've seen them struggle, especially last year with rushing quarterbacks between Reese and Sellers and Milroe were able to run all over them. If Klubnik can get outside the pocket, I do think that's going to make this become a very long night for LSU. But they do have the edge guys and the linebackers and Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins to contain him.
So I think whereas with these marquee matchups, Texas and Ohio State is going to be more of a slobber knocker. This is where the offense guys, we can get our fix a little bit. Like, we're seeing that total at 57.5. I know there's NFL talent at every level of both of these defenses, but as cohesive units, I think the defenses are both behind the offenses in this one. I think that Clemson has the advantage when they have the ball offensively, and I think LSU actually will have the advantage when they have the ball offensively. LSU, I think the one kind of like offensive edge that they have over Clemson, and I've talked about this with Clemson, I get concerned about their running back depth, and Adam Randall, a converted wide receiver, taking over at running back. I know they have a freshman that they're saying out in the pod, they're saying all the right things. They're saying that he's looking good and all that, but it's not quite Caden Durham and Harlem Berry like LSU has on the other side. So I think those third and shorts is going to be kind of like what really decides this game. Who's better on third down? I know that's not reinventing the wheel, but I think it becomes particularly important in this one, because it's just going to come down to getting the stops when you absolutely need them, because for the most part, I think we're going to see a lot of back and forth. The defenses are going to be a little bit overmatched. I think some interesting debate out there as to who has the better receiving core. I think LSU's is deeper. I think they can go 5 deep of like really impressive playmakers. I think Clemson probably more so like 3 deep as far as their top guys that I would put ahead, but they don't roll quite to that level of 5. Ultimately here, high-scoring game comes down to the wire for me. I think Clemson wins it. Last possession, last team with the ball wins. Give me Clemson to win this one by like 2 points. So I'm betting Clemson money line. I am not betting them against the spread, especially with it being a 3 to hook.
Yeah, that is a tough number. If you got the 3 early on in the summer, good for you. But Yeah, tough number. Yeah, like I mentioned, you were kind of hinting at that running back thing for Clemson. That is one of the questions that I wrote down for this. Does a running back step up Saturday night for Clemson? Or is Klubnik going to have to do everything? Because he might have to. I'm curious how many carries Cade Klubnik's going to have. Is it going to be like 8 or is it going to be like 12 to 15? That's a really interesting angle to this game here because he might have to do it all with his legs and his arm and have a monster night Saturday. And
that
as
might
someone
be a recurring theme all season too, right?
as someone that picked him as his Heisman pick, I would not mind seeing that. I think that would be pretty good. But another question too that I have about the LSU offensive line. Brian Kelly said that they might rotate 8 guys Saturday night here as they're trying to figure out that tackle spot. Both Will Campbell and Emory Jones left. They graduated or went to the NFL, however you want to phrase that. So how big is that drop off going to be from 2 NFL caliber guys to whoever they have filling in there against that Clemson front that it's looking, at least on paper, it sounds like this might be one of your more traditional, scary 4-man units for Clemson up front there too. I do think that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no, it's fronted by Peter Woods in the middle, but they have some serious edge talent as well. I think their inside linebackers are a bit of a question mark as far as like run fills are concerned, or if LSU is able to kind of get a setup where they can isolate a slot receiver on a linebacker. That's something to really keep an eye on. I always go back to I guess the Alabama-Ohio State national championship game where Devontae Smith was getting covered by Tough Borland. If LSU can cook up something like that on their offense and against one of these Clemson linebackers, that is something to keep an eye on, of course. But anytime that you're talking about rotating offensive line in a game that of this magnitude, and it's not like we're playing Southern University this week at home, that does raise an eyebrow. That does make me a little bit concerned, I think, if I'm an LSU fan.
So, I mean, I've been ragging on Brian Kelly for years, especially as we've started this show. So I got to take Clemson here. I'm taking them to win. Not going to wager on them, but I do like Clemson to win there. And then I actually lean under, John. I don't know if either one of these teams is going to get to 30. And with that total sitting right up around 57, maybe get to 58, I mean, someone's going to have to get to 30 there to get to that over. I think we might see these teams really try to run the ball and some clock might run here. So I would lean under. But gambling notes, as I mentioned, LSU 0-5 straight up and against the spread in their last 5 openers. That includes 0-3 under Brian Kelly. Clemson, on the other hand, Dabo has not had it going on against the SEC as of late. Last 10 against SEC opponents, 3-7 straight up, 2-8 against the spread. In the last 8 openers against Power 4 opponents, Clemson just 4-4 straight up and 2-6 against the spread. So Dabo has a little work cut out for him on Saturday night, I would say.
Do you remember offhand what happened to Clemson in the opener last year, by chance?
Didn't they like quit at halftime?
Might as well have. It wasn't a blowout yet. I think it was like 10-3 at half, and then, my God, the Avalanche.
Basically, half the team must have just left, gone to Chick-fil-A and Mercedes-Benz or something like that, and not realized when the second half started. But yeah, that was an ugly one. Or even 2 years ago, what happened against Duke on that Monday night? Remember that one? Where they looked horrible. That was Klubnik's first start.
That's right. That was
I think.
That was when I was starting to get a little bit worried about this iteration of Clemson really being able to kind of cut it in this era. But they've turned things around, obviously, since then. They have all the continuity. We check out our ACC preview to hear more about this. But we believe in Clemson for this year. But yeah, there were some rocky times there navigating like the post DJU era, which obviously did not go according to plan.
That guy has just left chaos in his wake wherever he's been for one. That is for sure. All right, we got one more game to get to here and break down. Then we're going to give out our best bets at the end of the show here. So let's talk about Notre Dame at Miami Sunday night. Number 6 taking on number 10 down there in South Florida. The Irish, John, I think they're at like a 2.5. I believe the last we saw. Yeah, it's at 2.5 right now. It opened up at 3 with Notre Dame as the favorite. The total has dropped almost a full touchdown. Opened at 54.5. It's down to 49 on some books at this point in time. So teams bettors either expecting some struggling quarterbacks in this one or just 2 decent defenses, a really good one, I think, in Notre Dame, and one that I might surprise people with Miami. But for me, when I look at this one, I do think it's going to come down to, is CJ Carr going to have to make plays against this Miami secondary Sunday night? If Notre Dame and that offensive line can control this game, it could be a long one for Miami. But if the Canes and Ruben Bain can get pressure and keep this thing close and force CJ Carr to beat them, Miami, I think, could pull off the upset Sunday night. This thing, I'm struggling with this one when it comes to Notre Dame and Miami.
Yeah, I think you have it drawn up perfectly. I think Notre Dame kind of needs to insulate Carr as best as they can. I think where you'd feel some semblance of comfort, though, is that I feel like you can do that. Like, I think that the strength of this Notre Dame team is very much in Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price and the offensive line. And I think that, Carr conventionally, I don't know if he is dollars to donuts better right now than Riley Leonard was, but I do think he's better as a passer. And I think that Miami will, by extension, have to respect the pass a little bit more. They might come after with a little bit more blitz and everything like that, try to get Carr rattled. But I love Greathouse. I love the guy Malachi Fields that they brought in from Virginia. So I think that there's untapped potential in this passing game that I think if you were only basing things off of last year, you'd be pleasantly surprised at what you see from Notre Dame's passing game. But you got to get things rolling with the run game. I think that it all kind of flows from there for Notre Dame. And on the Miami side, I mean, talk about just a full-on hockey line shift. New quarterback, new running back, like basically a brand new receiving core, including, replacing the most productive receiver in program history. You got to replace the tight end as well. So Carson Beck comes over, this spring, is still rehabbing the injury. How much have they really gelled as a collective?
Sure.
I think that Miami's a team that definitely gets better over the course of the season. I think that they're better suited to open with the cupcake and then, catch this game a little bit later on. I do think that I have some concern about Miami just kind of being ready to roll this year. I think they're going to look good to very good by the time November gets here. This is a bad draw for them, though, on Sunday.
It's tough in both directions, and as we were kind of talking about at the beginning of the show, the quarterback dynamic in this game is fascinating too. What is Carson Beck going to look like? If I want to say this, if he's the guy that he was at Georgia last year, this could be a rough night for Miami, because if he's turning the ball over 2-3 times, Notre Dame's going to be able to probably put some cushion in between them and Miami, just because I do think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think both teams really are going to be able to run the ball here, because we haven't really talked about this Miami offensive line. They're experienced up front, especially in those interior spots where Notre Dame's kind of working in some new defensive tackles. So this could be something where we see Mark Fletcher get the ball a ton Saturday night, and maybe they take a little bit off of Carson Beck's shoulders here, and maybe he just has to make 1 or 2 passes down the stretch. Now, Notre Dame's secondary, I'm very confident in. Leonard Moore is awesome at corner. He should lock down whoever their number 1 is for wide receiver, but yeah, this game can move quick, and that's why I see why this total has plummeted the way it has. I do think both teams really do try to establish the run here in this one. I mean, I gotta back my Irish, right? So I'm gonna take them to win this one, but I think it's gonna be a very uncomfortable, tight chest kind of night for me on Sunday.
Yep, I'll be your sounding board. I'll be waiting for the panic texts on Sunday evening during this game. Did you see that call? So yeah. I'm ready.
Oh, and in that stadium? Oh, that's coming.
They literally tried to just turn the lights off and say nothing to see here at the end of the Virginia.
Guys, we're getting paid by the hour. We're union, and we're not staying any later, okay? This is over. Let's go. Let's get out of here. I just hope, for my sake, I would love to see a nice Jeremiah Love, 70-yard touchdown, first drive, make me breathe and feel nice and calm there after a long Labor Day weekend. But yeah, a couple of betting notes for you guys. Here's this one's interesting. This caught me off guard, John. Mario Cristobal, 5-10 against the spread as a home favorite at Miami. Not great. He's 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread in his last 4 games against AP top 10 opponents. But he is 3-0 both straight up and ATS in openers as the Miami head coach. On the other side, How about this for a cover percentage? Marcus Freeman, 23-8-1 against the spread versus Power 5, Power 4 opponents. He is 3-0 against the spread in week 1, and he is also 3-0 to the under in week 1 as well. So a couple of little nuggets for you guys when it comes to the trends and bets and all that kind of stuff.
Trends, friends. Very good. Very, very interesting stuff there. And I guess ultimately I'm not that surprised by the Freeman number. I feel like they've really taken care of business against their power opponents. It's just more so like we talked about,
the letdown spots.
Not having the guys dialed against the MAC,
Yeah, but I mean, hey, Maction can sneak up on you in so many different ways. But anyways, like I've always said, like I will continue to say, trends are your friends until they're not, because they can pivot on you pretty quickly. All right, so speaking of betting, let's do our favorite bets for Saturday, John. What do you got? Week 1, here we go. Give me your best bets for the weekend.
All right, week 1, best bets. We'll go all guts, no glory to start us off. So the big games, give me Texas against the spread. Give me Texas money line, actually. In fact, give me Florida State plus 14. If we can find a 14.5, let's just go ahead and do that, though, just in case. And then give me Clemson money line and give me Notre Dame minus 2.5. Beyond that, looking at some of the more kind of fun, who knows type of games, I feel like it's a little bit of a disrespectful line for Miss State just being 13.5 point favorites. They are at Southern Miss, which is kind of a tough look for a SEC school, but give me Miss State minus 13.5 against the Golden Eagles, breaking in a lot of new guys there, new coaching staff, everything like that. Give me Tulane minus 5.5 against Northwestern. I like this one so much it almost scares me. At other books, you might find it at 6, but at Bet Rivers, minus 5.5. I like Tulane at home against Northwestern. And lastly, I love this number more than anything. Hawaii plus 17.5 against Arizona. I think Arizona is a team that I have questions about them kind of getting off the mat after last year. I think the Rainbow Warriors, they're feeling pretty good about themselves after last week. And I think ultimately the 17 in the hook. Very, very important here. I think Hawaii probably more so loses by 2 touchdowns. So give me Hawaii plus 17.5.
I was looking at that one too. I've stayed away from it so far, but you might have just convinced me when it comes to Hawaii there for Saturday night. But anyways, I got 5 for you guys. John, we're going to go head to head, I guess, right away in week 1. I'm laying the 13.5 with Bama. I mean, maybe there's a world out there where you get that 14 in the hook. I have 13.5 and we both hit. If Alabama wins by exactly 14, that'd be something, wouldn't it? If we could middle that right away. But anyways, yeah, Bama minus 13.5. I also love the Green Wave minus 5.5. You can find that on Bally Bet as well over Northwestern. That line just totally caught me off guard. I was like, what? Okay, what's going on here? Something's up. Something's up, but maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm going Tulane minus 5.5. UConn minus 25.5 against Central Connecticut State. That's right, the Battle of the Nutmeg State, week 1. Give me the Huskies in a rout. This line also, I like this one a lot too. Oregon minus 27.5 against Montana State at home. I think the Ducks are going to fly on Saturday, so give me the Ducks by 4 touchdowns at least. And then finally, I talked about this at the beginning, I'm laying the 5.5 with Utah. I think they go in, they really frustrate and clamp down UCLA, give Nico fits all night. And give me the Utes to roll, and I guess give me 2. So give me by 2 touchdowns. Maybe I'll outline that one if we're having a great day on Saturday.
Love it, man. I'm fired up for those picks, and I'm glad we're on lockstep on a couple of them. And of course, good for the kayfabe of the show that we're going head to head on Bama versus Florida State. I'd probably feel better if I'm on your side of it. I think things could go really, really wrong for me. And it would be kind of stunning if they went right for me. I feel like you're in a better position there, but that's why they play the game.
I hope so. Yeah, exactly. I'll have to keep a running tally of our head-to-head picks and see how we do throughout the season. But that's the first one there. All right, so before we wrap this up, I did just want to take a quick 30 seconds here and just shout out to the absolute legend, Lee Corso, who is retiring Saturday. He's going to be his final game day appearance. John, I remember firing up. This is how I learned who Lee Corso was. So right now, guys, I'm in my early 30s. My first time learning about Lee Corso, I was like 12 or 13 years old when NCAA '06 came out, the one with Desmond Howard on the cover. Great game. But Lee Corso was in that one making headgear picks as an animator. And like every like as you like would load into a game and always play as I was that kid that just always had to play as the Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush USC team. But anyways, as you were loading into that team, in that game, you would see the like little animated desk. It would be Brad Nessler, Corso, and Herbie on the desk, and this guy would just be putting headgear on and stuff like that, and making his picks. Even in a video game, I'm like, who is this? And like I remember like asking my dad, is this a real person? And he's like, yes, that's Coach Corso, and he's not so fast, my friend. And just like every Saturday morning in the fall now, Coach Corso's been there, and it's just been awesome to watch. He is an absolute legend in so many different ways, and he will be missed for sure. But it's just been, I mean, he is just one of the reasons that makes this sport and this game so great and why it is the best game on the planet. So shout out to Coach Corso.
Extremely well said. I can't really add much to that than you already put out there, but just a fun, unique cat, good-hearted fella. The best, endlessly entertaining. I think my kind of lasting, I'll always look back on Corso and laugh is when he just said he dropped an F-bomb on air and then just put the Houston Cougar head on. I think that was my all-time favorite Corso moment. And I'm glad he gets to go out like this in a game of this magnitude, because as far as college football personalities go, he is the embodiment of like a number 1 versus number 2 matchup. He is it.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and tell your friends, and we will be back early next week, and we'll be wrapping up week 1 and then with an early look at week 2. So talk to you then.